Welcome to the Metal Bob Live Podcast. I am your host, Metal Bob. Today's show is brought to you by Legend Picks. That's LEGENDPICKS.com. Visit Legend Picks for all your custom guitar pick needs. Also brought to you by artist Jeremiah Kalleck. You can find him on Instagram at JJKALLECK. There you can find his art videos and more. Links to our sponsors are listed in the episode description. On today's show, I had the honor of talking with guitarist Jim Seals of the Grammy Award-winning band Shenandoah. We discuss his musical journey into the business and also how Shenandoah came about. We also reflect back on the band's accomplishments, including a Grammy win. So sit back, have a listen, and enjoy the show. Thank you. Hello, Mr. Jim Seals.
Hello, Bobby. How are you, brother?
I'm great, man. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to call into the Metal Bob Live Podcast.
Oh, man, that's my pleasure, buddy. I'm not doing anything. I'm quarantined anyway, so.
I feel you, man. This whole thing's just kind of getting a little antsy, ain't it?
Yeah, it is. But you know what? It'll pass. We'll all be okay. It'll pass. But guarantee you the world will not be the same afterwards.
Yep, I have to agree. Yeah, it's
We were talking about all the things that are going to change. My wife and I, since we're quarantined, we've been watching news and reading, and things like the music business will never be. You know, when we were touring full time, we used to talk about being able to do streaming concerts and just do a show for 200,000 people and charge them just a small amount of money so that everybody could watch it. Well, that's happening now, and it will become the norm, I think, because of this. Because shows the way we've known them, well, I don't think it'll be the same after this.
Yeah, I have to agree. It's definitely making an impact, and the aftermath will be something to see. Also, I think you're right. I think things are going to be a lot different once this thing is over. I'm just hoping that someday soon we can go back to a little normalcy. That'd be nice.
Yeah, that would be nice. I mean, I don't know, being in the music business, what normal is, but at least some form of normalcy.
Right. Yeah, we've been having, I've had tickets to shows that are supposedly coming through town, and 90% of those have already gotten canceled, and it's been. Yeah. I know a lot of the musicians have been trying to do some online concerts and different things, and that's been nice. At least they're having some interaction with the with the crowd and the families and the fans and everything like that. But it's nothing like being out there doing it live in front of a bunch of people. But unfortunately, right now we just can't do that. So. But
well, I know some of the guys around here. A good friend of mine, Will McFarland, who played with Bonnie Raitt for a long time. He's, we're all home. Nobody's doing any studio work. Nobody's doing any live gigs. So he started just weekly posting, him doing a song, and Kelvin Holly that played with Little Richard for a long time. There's so many folks are doing just on Facebook. So it's just going out to folks that we know on Facebook, but at least it's a way to connect. Still play a little music and touch some folks. And anyway, just an odd time that we're going through.
It is, and it's really kind of hard to reflect on it all. I mean, there's just so much going on right now. It's just really hard. I mean, that's all that you see on TV. That's all everybody's talking about, which rightfully so. I mean, everybody's concerned, but anyway, try to move forward a little bit here. I know that you were influenced, your guitar playing was influenced on rock and blues. You want to tell us who some of your influences were and how you got into the business?
Sure. Actually, I think I told you I really didn't mean to be in the business. I wanted to be an English teacher. And my dad started teaching me when I was 10 years old. And I just really did it to please him. And I was just kind of playing some Beatles songs and some Monkees, some old country stuff, and playing high school dances and that kind of thing. And what really changed everything for me was the second Cream album, Disraeli Gears. And I had never really heard anything like that. And a friend of my sister's had won Disraeli Gears album at some kind of contest. And she brought it over and told my sister, she said, "This is awful." do you want it? My sister said no, and I took it. And the first thing, I put the needle down on the record, and the first thing I heard was Sunshine of Your Love. And I went and got my brother Jack. I said, man, what in the world? What the hell is this? And I was hooked then. I mean, that's why Clapton is still one of my heroes, is because back in 1967, that was just amazing to me. And from there, then, of course, Jeff Beck has been my favorite guitar player for 50 years. And so I began to kind of take it more serious then, that it was an art form and not just something to get girls with and to please my dad. And, from there, then it became, Al Di Meola and tons of other, I got into fusion and jazz, Joe Pass kind of stuff, Wes Montgomery, and then some of the great country players that, they were all kind of swingy players back in the 40s and 50s, Hank Garland and guys like that were really jazz players playing country. And anyway, that's just kind of how that developed. And of course, I loved, Freddie King and Albert King. I just loved their playing. And so anyway, I was just very fortunate to have kind of stuck my hand in a bunch of different guitar pies. And, I guess that's the reason, Bobby, I have always worked. Since the time I was 17, I have never been out of work musically. And it's not because I'm a very good player. I'm actually not. It's just that if you were going to do a recording session, you needed somebody who could play a little country and a little jazz, a little rock. I was kind of the guy that could get the call just because I could, I wasn't very good at any of them individually, but I could kind of touch base on them. And plus I didn't drink and I showed up on time, didn't do drugs. And so my father always told me, if you'll treat this like a job, it'll take care of you. And if you don't, you'll wind up with nothing. Well, I just turned 66 and I retired from this business, and I still scratch my head sometimes and wonder how in the world I was able to raise 5 kids and put them through school and do it all with just a guitar in my hand. So amazing to me.
Yeah, well, congratulations to you, brother. You did a great job.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
So now, how did Shenandoah come about?
Okay, you're kind of fading out on me a little bit, Bobby. I'm sorry.
All right. I said, how did Shenandoah come about?
Well, I had moved. I was in the Quad Cities for years, and I was born here in Alabama, but raised up in northern Illinois, in Moline, Rock Island, Davenport, Bettendorf, and my brother and I were local fixtures, for years and years. And when I was just about to be 30, I realized, I'm either going to I can't be in the music business full time here. I'm going to have to either go to Nashville or LA or New York. So I started, and I wanted to be a songwriter, since English was kind of my passion. So I started writing songs and sending them out. I actually started that in my late 20s. And, I got some nibbles in different places, and I really wasn't that familiar with Muscle Shoals. I didn't know really then at the time that, Rod Stewart, the Rolling Stones, Aretha Franklin, Bob Seger, all these people had cut hit records here. And at one time it was known as the hit recording capital of the world. More #1 records were cut here in Muscle Shoals, Alabama, than any place, L.A., New York, and Nashville combined. But somebody got tape down here to Rick Hall, his associate Walt Aldrich, and so I set up a meeting and came down here on my 30th birthday. I sat in Walt's office and it really signed a deal to be a writer. And part of the obligation with that writing contract was I would play on demos and records that were cut at Fame Recording Studios. And I've always worked a lot, Bobby. I 70, 80 hours a week, doing anything I could. So put a band together and we started playing in the local nightclub, and never dreamed that was just kind of to make sure I had enough money to put Pampers on my kids. And, the writing was going to be the thing I thought would make me money. But anyway, that's how Shenandoah was formed. I just got together a bunch of guys and through, after a couple of years, we had a pretty good band. And CBS Records was looking for new acts to produce, and some friends of ours that I played on some of their demo records came through one day and heard us and just thought, man, y'all are better than any of the acts we're looking at. And they wanted to sign us to a record deal. And we didn't even have a name. So that kind of took us by surprise. So
right.
Anyway, 32 years old, we signed the deal and cut a record. We didn't think anything would happen with it. We cut a record, and I think the first song went to like 51. We weren't really paying that much attention to it. We were still trying to, play on records and write songs. And the second one went to top 20, and the third one went top 10. And CBS asked for another album, so we kind of took it serious then. And we went in and cut our second album was called Road Not Taken, and 6 number one records in a row off that album. And the first one that was a number one was called Church on Cumberland Road. And it did something not even the Beatles had done. It was the first time a band's first number one record stayed 3 weeks. So all of a sudden we were in that part of the music business. So that's kind of how Shenandoah started.
Nice. Yeah, and I see that, some of your music ended up leading to a Grammy, which, that award has eluded a lot of musicians, no matter how many records they've sold over their career. You want to elaborate on that a little bit?
Well, we were very fortunate. Again, we thought for a while, Bobby, since Muscle Shoals, Alabama is not very big, and it's about 100 miles from Nashville. And we thought for a while that was going to be bad for our career because we were not in Nashville. But I think it actually turned out to be a really good thing because we all lived within a mile of each other. We knew everybody in town, and we didn't get caught up in the mechanics and the hoopla of the music business in Nashville. I'm not saying anything bad against it. I'm just saying we were removed, so we weren't. It wasn't a day-to-day thing for us. It let us, I think, keep our perspective. So, and we picked our own songs, and it was a lot different than it is in Nashville. And being that most of us were songwriters and session players, I think we had probably pretty good ears. And so that we were fortunate enough we got like a People's Choice Award and Group of the Year Award from the ACM and the CMA Awards. And the Grammy was for a thing with Alison Krauss called Vicinity of the Heart. And our record label, I think it was RCA at the time, was wanting us to do a duet. And they were picking people like Olivia Newton-John and some of the other people that were big artists. And that was great. But actually, Marty, our lead singer, was friends with Alison Krauss, and she was on a little bitty bluegrass label called Rounder Records. And at that time, it was small. And the record label just fought us tooth and nail. So, man, nobody knows who she is. And we do not want you to cut a duet, but we kind of held our ground, and we cut a song called In the Vicinity of the Heart. And it not only put Allison on the map and made her a major artist, but it we won a Grammy for that one, and we won a CMA for that song, and it forged a lifelong friendship with her. So anyway, we were shocked, but very, very humbled that we were even considered for a couple of Grammy awards. But just a blessing for us.
That's awesome. So I got a question for you. So if you could pick one record that you couldn't live without, what would it be?
Well, that's not fair.
I know it's not. I ask everybody, and I get the same answer from everybody. I can't tell you.
Yeah, I mean that's the first thing I was looking at what I've got laid out here. I'm looking at King Crimson album, Court of the Crimson King. That's one I've been listening to lately, and also the first Quicksilver Messenger Service album. I've got an AC/DC album. I'm just looking to see what I've got laying over here. Tommy Emmanuel. There's Chet Atkins album laying over here. Let's see what else I've got. I mean, there's just no way, Bobby, I can tell you one. Guitar Shop, Jeff Beck is still one of my favorite. I keep that in rotation. Beatles number one. I just, when I started teaching guitar, that's when I really became a Beatles fan. I always liked them, but I didn't realize what what an impact they had and how musical they were until I started teaching and people wanted to learn that material. I could teach Led Zeppelin songs, with my eyes closed. But man, some of the Beatles stuff, the way they used chord progressions and versions. Anyway, so there's a Beatles #1 album laying over here. So I can't tell you one album. There's a Snowflakes Are Dancing by Teo Tomita. That's all Debussy stuff. So it's pretty varied. The stuff I listen to is pretty varied.
Yeah, it's that wasn't a fair question, man. I throw that at everybody and I get the same answer.
Well, let me ask you, what album could you not live without?
I can't answer that.
Okay,
it's not a fair question.
You're right, it's not. That's great.
I ask it to everybody and I get the same answer. I just enjoy doing it.
Yeah, well, I don't blame you. It does make people stop and think, what their influences are and what their but I hope everybody listens to a variety of music. It used to bother me, since I made my living in country music. People would say, man, if it ain't country, it ain't good. I was like, man, you're just missing everything. And the same thing with, if it ain't rock and roll, it ain't crap. I said, man, you need to turn the page. There is so much good music out there. And, you may like heavy metal better than you do jazz stuff, but man, you need to at least widen that palette, especially if you're a guitar player or a musician of any kind. It's amazing how it changes your playing. One cool thing, when I was playing fusion, I'll tell you this story real quick, Bobby. It was a friend of mine. We were both in the same fusion band. We were both guitar players. And I got a call. I still lived up in Illinois. I don't know if anybody remembers the Brown Owl. There was a nightclub up there. And I got a call to go fill in the country band. They were all older guys, probably my age now, and I was in my mid-20s. And so this other guitar player came down when they were with me. He was just making plays. Man, that stuff's so easy, all that old country crap. And I was trying to tell him, country guitar players have to be kind of a notch above other ones because, if you play rock and roll, you play rock style. If you play jazz, you play jazz style. If you play metal, you play metal style. They all have their own genre how you play, but in country, you have to play some jazz, you have to play some rock, some blues licks, and you have this country string bending, chicken picking thing. It's a whole different animal. And so I got him up to play. I said, well, if it's so simple, why don't you get up here and play? And he got up there, and man, 2 songs, he was sweating. He said, man, let me down from here. He said, I don't understand it. I go, that's what I mean. That's why everybody should listen to a bunch of different kinds of music as a guitar player, because you may be playing blues. You could throw a jazz lick in there like Robin Ford, or Joe Bonamassa. I hear something. That's kind of why they're such revered players, is because they don't paint with just one brush. They're always looking over the fence and appreciating other styles and seeing what they can borrow from it. So it's a cool thing.
Right. And I agree, I'm a big metal guy. I love hard rock, but I also love country music. I love singer-songwriter stuff. I'm a big Jim Croce fan, Tom Petty.
Oh yeah.
I'm all over the map, man. I love everything. If it's good, it's good.
Good. Bless you, man. You'll never go wrong with that attitude, Bobby. That's great, brother.
Like you said, I got my favorites, but I also know when a song's good, it's good. It really is.
Yeah. I agree with you.
So another question I had. So there is still a version of Shenandoah out there. Is this correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Is that with Marty? Is Marty Raybon still singing with them, or?
Right. Yeah. Okay. Now, Mike McGuire, the drummer, and I own the name. We eventually bought everybody's. We bought the rights from everybody else, and when I had a stroke in 2009, and I'm about 99% recovered. I've been trying to do an acoustic fingerstyle album, but I'm not sure if I can. My hand doesn't work as well as it used to, and I'm not complaining. I'm blessed I can still play. And I think a lot of the things I sent you, some of the early stuff was before the stroke, and some was after. But anyway, I didn't want to be on the road anymore. So in 2014 is when I decided to retire. But Mike and Marty are still out there, and they've got some wonderful players with them. And they're still a great band. I mean, I would go see them in a heartbeat. But yeah, they're still touring. And of course, now they're shut down because of the coronavirus thing. But, they were still doing 100 dates a year and still playing the Grand Ole Opry and they're just, and they had a couple new albums out. I got to play on one of them, and but still a great band, and very, very entertaining. I think in a lot of memories, since that covers with the 88, 98, 2008. Good Lord, 30-something years, 30 years of memories. So anyway, but they're still out there touring.
Right on. Well, that's awesome, man. That's good to hear. So and then you were mentioning earlier that you're from the Midwest up there in the Rock Island Moline area. Well, I'm from Milan, Illinois.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, Milan. That's also the Rock River Bridge there.
Yes, sir. It's a small world, buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of my dear friends lived out there. My sister actually still lives in Milan.
Okay.
Becky DeYoungie, she still lives out there in Milan, and I believe my best friend growing up, Joe Rebello, that I just hooked back up with on Facebook a while ago. I think he still lives out in Milan too. So I'm real familiar with that.
Yeah. I know you got a lot of friends and family out there. I knew who you were a long time ago. I knew you're from the area. I just didn't know about where, and I've heard your name mentioned over and over, and I was fortunate enough to meet Jacob, one of your boys, that and I actually played with him a little bit back there when he lived there, and
he's gifted. He's a great player.
He's amazing and a great guy.
Yeah, he's a sweet guy too.
Yes, he is.
Sweet.
He's awesome.
Yeah. I don't get to see him. He lives in Auburn. My oldest son lives in Auburn. He has a broadcast company there, and Jake lives down there close to him. So it's about a 4-hour drive. So I don't get to see him near as much as I'd like to. But I went and saw him about 3 weeks ago, and he's doing good, man. I sure do miss him. And I'll have to mention that. I'm sure he'll remember. He may have some stories to tell on you, Bobby.
Oh, I'm sure he does. Just tell him to pick and choose wisely.
Okay. All right. Nothing for publication.
Yeah, no, Jake's a great guy, man. I enjoyed the little time I had with him there in the Quad Cities, man. And everybody moves on and goes their separate ways at some point in life. So
yeah, that's true.
That's true. We don't forget the good times, though.
No, that's what we talk about. And you'll probably adopt this as you get older too. With playing music, we a lot of my friends are studio guys, at least, are older than me. So, the original Swampers and all that stuff but we always say, you know what, we better enjoy all of these gigs that we do, because we don't get to do this forever. And it seems like when you're in your 30s, 20s and 30s and 40s, it's a never-ending plate of music that you get to play, and gigs they'll never end. As you get older, you realize, you know what? Just like prize fighters and baseball players, everybody has to retire one day. We don't get to do this forever. So, you got to enjoy it while you can. All those gigs you played with Jake and anybody else you play with, man, try and stop in the moment when you're on stage and go, you know what? I'm going to soak this in for just a second, because this won't come back around again.
Yep, you hit the head on the nail, man. Or the nail on the head. That's what I meant to say. Yes, you got that right, buddy. Well, Jim, man, I really appreciate you taking time out of your Sunday, man, to have a little conversation on the Metal Bob Live podcast. I really appreciate you, brother.
Hey, it was my pleasure, Bobby, and thank you for reaching out. I was a little amazed. I told my wife, I said, man, that's kind of a metal age there that I don't know what they're even thinking about with me, but you know what? Then I realized, we're all guitar players. We're all in this together, and we all need to hug each other's musical necks and admire each other and help each other. And, because that's what music is all about. It's that language that flows through us that we can touch each other with it and share. So it's a wonderful, wonderful gift that we have. We need to share with each other and with everybody out there in this world.
Absolutely. And just because Metal Bob's in the title, man, I'm a fan of all genres of music, man. I love everything. So, I really appreciate you doing this.
Yes, sir, brother. Well, you take care and stay safe, okay?
All right. Maybe we can have you on in the future.
Sounds good. All right. God love you and everybody up there. I hope I'll see y'all soon.
All right. You too, buddy. You take care of yourself. Be safe.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye. That concludes today's episode of the Metal Bob Live podcast. Please see our sponsor links, and thank you for listening. Metal Bob out.